Full house today. Must be something big going on this weekend. I thought overall, with some of the things that were going on in Saturday's game against Indiana State, really pleased with our young men and their ability to respond. There was 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and we were in grind mode, and the score was 38-7. Or Jeff, that was your prediction, right? Okay, so overall, it's a really good performance. When you look back on it, you got to go study, and you're studying it against this unbelievable standard of perfection, and that's what we're always striving for. And then somewhere along the way, we're looking to capture excellence. Okay, without ever losing the thought of just winning by one more point than your opponent, 1 week at a time. And so when you look back on it, collectively, offensively, we just didn't cultivate touchdowns. We had the ball for 10 minutes in the first quarter, and it was methodical. It was really efficient. It was actually beautiful. 6, 7, 8 yards in the run game. Cole extending series and getting the ball thrown in scramble drills. But we just didn't produce a 20-yard play, and we've been talking about it all year, and that was what was missing in order for us to extend this thing and so forth and so on. And then on top of it, for the first time this year, we got a bad break, and that's football. The balls sometimes don't bounce your way, so we turn it over in the red zone. Indiana State makes a great play breaking on a ball, and they get it intercepted. That really affected momentum. Defensively, we did change the narrative, and we asked them on Monday to change the narrative of starting faster because we had played 84 plays in the 2 games previous. They forced 2 3-and-outs out of their first 3 series. It's just special teams, we just had a little bit of a mistake in fundamentals and technique when we gave up the fake punt. And I got to be honest with you, I just give a lot of credit to their coach. You want a fake punt from the 25, and do that. That's part of the deal. So that was kind of the overall dullness of the first quarter. Defensively, our performance, my hat goes off to those guys. They played extremely well for all 4 quarters, basically, outside of one drive. And Indiana State was challenging us with some tempo stuff that basically was coming after any productive play. And so we'll work hard at improving there. And then, like I mentioned, just offensively, we have to be really aware. Cultivating explosive plays is a big-time factor in scoring touchdowns. It really is hard to deal with defensively when you can get those types of plays, and whether that's pushing the ball downfield a little bit to, say, Bryce or Raj or somebody making their minds up, they're not going to get tackled. Okay, we have to cultivate those plays. Now, we had 9 plays of 15 yards or more, but 20 yards is the mark, and so that's kind of the area that I thought, if any, we came up short. I can show you guys the numbers. They were off the charts. We're at 60% on third down. Defensively, we hit all of our goals. So it was really good performance. It was a little bit sputtery in the first half, and we're going to get it cleaned up. We need to get it cleaned up. Okay, so this week, the Dakota markers here. 2025 Dakota markers here, and I think that's important to note because 21 matchups, NDSU 11, South Dakota State 10. The average score is 24-10 or 24-20 in those games. Okay, so this will be an absolute dogfight. So it's one of those deals where you take all these numbers and these stats, okay, and then we can do this. We can get rid of that, okay, and because it won't be about anything about execution in big moments. You either make the play or you don't. We watched a 20-minute tape last night of some of the missed opportunities, or when we broke down and they just didn't capitalize last year. If those plays go the other way, I don't know that we're hosting the trophy. And it's really important for our young people to understand that there's 6 plays that are going to make the difference in this game, and we do not know which 6 they are. The level of competitiveness in this game, the physicality in this game, the level of coaching and execution in this game will be by far our best matchup. It is unbelievable when you take it from a bird's eye view and you just watch the pursuit and effort on both defenses, the execution of both offenses, the quarterback and their grit to keep their teams on the field. It's going to be a dogfight. And like I said last year, I really respect these guys based on how they coach, how they put their players in position to make plays, the quality of their players, how they recruit. It doesn't mean you got to like them and all that stuff, but, man, they do things the right way, and this should be a really fun matchup in And, man, we have to embrace this environment. We got to go down there with the thoughts and the idea of efficient, productive, fast, quick start with efficient plays to try to silence these guys. I think it's going to be a difficult environment. I really do. Let's go. Let's get some questions rock and rolling here.
What information do you have about Jackson and Mackay?
Jackson, okay, now I'm not going to use the term like most coaches, like day to day, in the sense that we don't know. He's got to hit some benchmarks, and we're checking on those day to day. He's not out there practicing, and anytime that occurs for an NDSU player, okay, the chances of him playing on a Saturday are very unlikely. But guess what? Jackson's been here 5 years, and he's a rock star. So I wouldn't count him out, but he hasn't put on the pads or his shorts or lifted weights yet, and he has to hit some rehab things. He has to get back with strength and conditioning to make sure things are strong. And so I don't even want to speculate on when he'll be back, but Jackson is probably most likely not going to play. Who is the other one?
Mackay.
Mackay, we're going to try to get up and running later in the week just to see how his ankle responds. I'm not overly opportunistic, but he's a guy that I would be comfortable suiting up as an emergency only on Saturday, and that could be possible.
Stinger?
No,
head.
Mackay has a...
No, Jackson, I'm sorry. Stinger, head?
Okay, CT scans, MRIs, all very positive. Okay, that impact, I mean, if you guys look at it really closely, it's like, I mean, everything is getting driven and compressed. And so that was the result of not being able to feel his hands for a moment, some lower back pain. He's just really dealing with, like being in a car accident. Okay, like there's some real muscle stuff in the neck area, the trap area that is really sore, and we know how tough he is. And so I'm going to trust Trish, and I'm going to trust Jackson to be positive, to do what she asked him to do. And then when we come through this, we'll come through it. But we're just continuing to keep our fingers crossed that we get him back this year.
How do you face a team you're not really sure of the quarterback? I mean, how do you prepare for a team like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, especially if they're different. I think you got to prepare for the starter. Or let's just say there was a drastic difference in one kid's ability to run and the other kid's ability to throw. I mean, then you got to have kind of two different plans anyhow. I remember Mark Farley talking about it when he didn't know if Carson was going to play or not. I think there was a time in there when that came up. And, preparing for both quarterbacks, you got to do a little bit different. 7-on-7 work is extremely different. I think your inside run would have to get pushed towards a different type of quarterback. But in this scenario, we're going to get ready. That kid is, I mean, we talk about Cole and his physicality and his physical presence. This guy's 6'3", 240 pounds. And, I mean, I remember seeing him last year like, geez, should they be playing this guy at tight end or linebacker? I mean, it's almost mirrored, these two kids and their careers. So I think we have to prepare for him. And then we got to know the backup is very capable in the RPO world. He'll take relief. That was proven in the Murray State game, bubble screens, the quick games. He has good footwork and rhythm, and that's probably a byproduct of him coming with his coach that coached him before. So he's got a good foundation based on footwork, rhythm, and I think he's above the average arm. Or above the line arm, I should say, not average. And he did some decent, solid things for his first time playing. I would think he would only improve, this week in practice and stuff. And then it's a matter of can you rattle him, if you get to the backup. But we're going to prepare for Chase.
Tim, it's been a bit since you've been down there. The stadium is completely different. What do you anticipate for yourself on Saturday?
Yeah, you keep pointing out some of these things that I don't even think about. I'm actually looking forward to it. They've upgraded their stuff like any great program, and a lot of that right now is centered around the Dakotas. They've all made improvements in their facilities. I know they have a great fan base, much like ours. I hope Bison Nation can somehow find a way to get some of those tickets, and whoever's there be really active. But I'm looking forward to being down there and seeing it, honestly, and just kind of, what are you up against, like in the recruiting world? What does it look like exactly? And based on their hobo days, which I think this game would be a click up based on the opponent, I'm just anticipating a really electric crowd that's pretty rambunctious after getting the tailgate all day.
Cole got hurt in this game last year. Do you have a sense that this means a little bit more for him than what happened last year in this game?
I will never show you guys the 17-minute video we took from the meeting last night. But it's interesting. He's in a couple of the shots that Christian, like his demeanor doesn't change. He's really consistent. Last night we were throwing up against a 15-mile-per-hour wind, and he missed a couple like any quarterback would, driving it downfield. And one of those we're going to need to find a way, get that nose up and down. He said, Coach, we're going to prepare. I mean, he just doesn't change. And he's got a competitive burn. I think probably somewhere in there, these guys are the ones that took opportunity away from me to contribute more to the 2024 championship. Probably is in his head, but I just don't think that'll impact when he's under center and shotgun his general feeling. I think he's going to play well.
You mentioned throwing the stats out. The game at Illinois State was a 17-point game. That's been your closest game this season. It would be difficult to anticipate South Dakota State game going like that. How do you kind of prepare the team for a dogfight when you have not been in a dogfight?
Yeah. Play with great emotion. Don't get emotional. Win one play at a time. Focus on your fundamentals. If you find yourself getting a little bit out of whack, a little concerned about one play, so what, now what? Keep responding, because that's the kind of fight this will be. And that's where, I try to find positives in everything. The bottom line with like last week was how we responded is what I'm excited for, because we're trying to build young men. Nothing's perfect. Right? And being able to come out of the tunnel and play well in the second half said something about our resolve. And then if you just look at last year's game, both games, I didn't look beyond that. If you look at last year's both games, I mean, we have the ball with 6 minutes to go and we put it up to Raj and you win, right? They get it back. They miss a screen play in there. This is going to be tight regardless. I think special teams, I just have an eerie feeling that special teams, there's going to be a big play in there somewhere. That matchup is so balanced right now. They have to focus on fundamentals, the basics. We have to focus on our effort and getting to the ball. And then just make no mistake about it, okay? 2 Augusts ago I showed up, to fall camp, and we talked about 0 to 8. We had 8 turnovers in the previous 5 losses. Okay, in the 2 wins, we've had 0 turnovers. They've had 2. Turnovers are going to make a difference in this game as well. So we got to value the ball, and we got to respect the ball, and we got to be ball hawks, and we got to get to the football with bad intentions.
You're saying about dogfight, down in Brookings, the last guy to go over 100 yards, the last running back for you guys was your Samuel Jury 12 years ago.
2012?
Is that just the nature of the game, or do you have to try to change that for your running backs?
No, you don't. I mean, you just got to go down there and try to establish the run. Both teams are going to be trying to do that against really high-level defenses. Here, I'll give you some numbers here. When you look at stops, defense, third down stops, our defense right now is 70% win rate. Theirs is 73% win rate. Fourth down stops, ours is 55% stops. Theirs is 62%. Conversely, offensively, now that's where we're a team. We're going to try to win as a team and support each other, but we have to be that team that shows up a 60% conversion team that's on third down. And if we can extend some drives, Jeff, and avoid 3 and outs, I think that's where you have a chance to have a 100-yard rusher. But this has always come down to, you guys ever notice how this has come down to some quarterback run game? It takes +1. It just does, because they're schooled up on defense. They're a system outfit like we are. The kids know the system. The coaches know the weaknesses in the calls, and they can adjust on the fly. And then these players playing defense are really good. It's hard. It's hard to get a guy that rushed for 100 yards.
With their quarterback not being the one from last year, and as many guys that went to Washington State as did, how much of your 2 games last year can you take? And how much do you have to watch this year's version of South Dakota?
It just matters if you're – I would use – are you trying to be a PFF guy in grading performance of individuals? Are you trying to study an individual versus studying conceptually how the defense's coordinator is trying to structure their defense? So those are the 2 things that we're always in balance on when we're studying film. You're studying defensive structure, then matchup issues – trying to identify those, but then each individual kid's got to go in there and try to study the guy they're going to play and know how they're going to be attacked. That's the preparation we're talking about weekly. For years, Chris Kleiman always did such a good job. It's different than me, but we would look at all those former games and try to bring up the trick plays or the counter punches to things and dive into it. I think you can get lost and you'll be up there until about 12 o'clock just fascinated drinking coffee or Red Bull. And we're trying to avoid that. So we're focused on the personality and the personnel of the football team now. And then we're paying great detail to what nuance. Okay, Jimmy and their D coordinator came up together. All right. Okay, Dan Jackson is part of that. I think their DNA is still the same. It's much like here for a long time. You know, it was Eck and their quarterback coach together doing it, right? Now the quarterback coach is the offensive coordinator. Well, he coached the guy that's at Northwestern. You see what I'm saying? So it's all connected. So more structure, scheme, concept. How are we going to be attacked?
Speaking of that, they lost over 20 guys to the portal, yet they're 7-0. So your reaction, surprised?
They're just good. It's a good program. And I think they did a good job jumping on some portal recruiting. You know, we had talked to or engaged in some conversations with some of the guys they had coming. But I to their credit, and much like us, how many of those guys are starting for them? Not a lot. You know what I mean? So they have in their DNA the want-to compete, the want-to develop. It's a very well-run program, and I don't want to come off wrong here. This is going to be competitive. I want to win this game. This is important. But the respect level's got to be there for the way they develop.
Are they better or different in areas?
Yeah.
Because they graduate, not only the portal, but they lost some really good players at graduation.
Yeah. I mean, it's Tuesday, right? There's another 48 hours, so Thursday, maybe I feel slightly different about what I'm going to say. But I think their receiver unit as a whole is better. I think, or it feels like there's a few more guys compared to last year. There's a few more guys after the catch that can do more with it. There's big play capability there. They have 18 explosive plays in the pass game, 32 explosive plays overall. That's going to play a role. We have 49 explosive plays. So that's going to play a role in this, and that's how you score points. The tight end group is different. They have a really good athlete that can catch it and do something with it, but they're playing an extra O-lineman quite a bit when they want to establish the run, where they've been able to rely on their tight ends in the past. Running backs, I honestly, quite frankly, don't know because their health has been up and down. I think 15's a really good player. James Bassinger is back. He's got 47 carries. And then, Josiah Johnson's a kid that kind of flashed on the scene from Milwaukee last week. And so it's just kind of hard to tell who they're going to play there. Chase Mason, and I think he's accurate. He's got a humongous arm. His feet aren't always perfect, but his arm talent is so impressive that he can catch up to even timing routes. And he's been fairly accurate. And then, the scary part about him is when he gets on the perimeter, much like our guy, that's a true dual threat. And so I'm not sure at this moment, is he playing close to where Mark was playing? Probably at this time. I really mean that. Offensive line-wise, they had a group that started 2 straight seasons together. Okay, this is a really solid group, but that would be a better question for him if they're as good or not. Defensively, they have good players at all 3 levels. The linebackers were amazing last year as a group. They were. And this group is pretty darn good. But that group last year was amazing, and these guys are flying around, and they kept a lot of the same characteristics. They have 8 interceptions in the last 2 games, so their back end is doing a really nice job of getting the ball. And then defensive line-wise, number 94, because they move him inside and outside. He's a powerful, short guy that plays with a great spirit and energy, and I think the defense takes on his personality.
You mentioned tight ends. Both these programs have a history of producing some high caliber tight ends. In your opinion, just what does having a good tight end do to a program? Like, how does it elevate what you can do on offense?
Well, I think formationally it adds a lot of diversity if the guy is a run and pass player, right? Because now all of a sudden you can split them out. That's kind of what we're hopeful someday with Reese. I mean, this guy's up to 200 and some yards receiving, 21 or 22 yards per catch. Like, if he can continue to develop, well, you can line him up in the slot, and then the next time he's the nub side tight end and he's blocking in the run. So I would just say formation diversity. It allows you to be much more capable of closing out games. Somewhere in the middle of the fourth quarter, you need to stick a 3, 4, 5, 7-minute drive together. That's hard to do in 11 personnel sometimes. Where if you can get big and shift trade motion a little bit. So those tight ends allow that. That's what I would say. And then the middle controlling the middle of the field with a pass catcher, not only that can catch it, but can do something after the catch is really something I get pretty excited about. That's hard to defend.
How close is Reese to helping you in the run game the way you kind of want him to?
Yeah, I don't know. A few more weeks, man, a winter camp of some playoff football, the kid could be pretty good. We'll see. I think he's a humble guy. I think he's working at it. You got to remember now, Finn Diggins was really playing at a high level in the run game, and then Carson Williams, is pretty high level blocker. And so he's kind of behind some guys too. And it just for us, we can personnel. I don't mind running personnel groupings in because our kids are so familiar with each other because of the double repping.
Tim, describe Zach Vanderpool's rise of the depth chart. And if he has to go Saturday, what can you see out of him?
Well, it won't be if he has to. He's 50-50 right now as far as getting back. He's struggling with some back stuff. Typical is how I would first describe it if recruiting's on point. 6'4.5", 235-pound athlete. Gazer did a good job identifying him. Matt and those guys did a great job of recruiting him. At 280 or something now, 278. So just the natural progression within the program when you have a talented, competitive guy that wants to get better. He's just scratching the surface, of opening up his toolbox in the pass rush game. Him and Elijah still have to detail their fundamentals in the run game. They're probably a little bit better on the move than they are just playing head up and trying to get knocked back.
You see Elijah playing a lot in this game too, then?
Well, yeah, I mean, if Duty's out, we can't. This ain't the type of affair where you can just send Keenan out there for 72 plays and go get him, buddy. I mean, he's going to have to. Keenan and Logan are going to have to empty the damn tank, and that starts today with their nutrition preparation, their practice habits, their sleep. That's all got to be on point because those two are going to war and they're on the front line.
Keith Alexander's played, I think, 30 snaps the last 3 weeks. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, I think you must like Jaquise because I think that's the second time you asked me, but I always appreciate you bringing it up. Consistent worker. He's really embracing. Last year at this time, last night was about 28, 30 degrees or something. There was some wind. I don't know how that would have went. The practice, it was 50-50 whether he was going to dominate it. I thought last night he went out there and practiced really well. And so you're just seeing a guy that has grown his role, which that's the job of the players, is if you want more, do more. If you want to play more, be better. He's done a really good job with that. And he's having fun playing football. He did not try to lateral the ball to Crumbie. I asked him, he dropped it.
Last 3 games, I think you've had the ball 20 minutes or more in the second half of the last 3 games, which is an oddity, I think. I mean, that's a lot of time to have the ball.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're referencing is Illinois State and Southern Illinois specifically.
Illinois State, Southern,
Yeah, well, Indiana State, we had it, like I said, we had it for 10 minutes in the first quarter. Okay, the second quarter didn't go quite as well because of not converting on 3rd and 1, and then not converting on 4th and 1, and then we had a 3 and out in there too. Maybe there's something to be said about just a little bit of our still big game experience up front. Maybe we're learning that a little bit right now, that they're a little bit better after they play some snaps and they're getting better as they go. But I'll tell you what, we talk about that. No, we coach that. We must get better for the 60 minutes. We have to be better football team deep in the third quarter than we were at the start. That's more important because everything in our program, we talk about getting the games into the fourth quarter, relying on our toughness and our togetherness and our pride and our conditioning. And we want fourth-quarter games. We're not scared of the swamp.
In a game like this, when you're talking about +1 run game, is that something that has to be in your first 15? It has to be a part of the plan? Or are you trying to establish tailback run game and then you just pull the ripcord and, okay, +1?
That's maybe one of the first questions I'm going to say. I'm not going to give you too much on that. There's a couple ways to approach that. Get your best stuff out there and go. And that's kind of, it's football. And that maybe Illinois State did a really nice job. Maybe Southern did a really nice job with their openers. Okay, and then the defense gets time to coach and teach and learn. And then we go out there and adjust and we shut it down. That's football. And so whether you hold it, for big moments? Are you holding it for the second half? Are you going to come out with your stuff? Do you have counter punches to it? It kind of, I've always thought of it this way. Can you establish the running back, the tailback run game, and then kind of keep moving on? Where are you at, assess it, and move on.
How big a deal is this game in terms of the future, knowing the recruits that they want, you're looking at, and vice versa? 1 versus 2, it's national television. The implications beyond Saturday night.
I think it's huge, right? Like, I actually gave that a little bit of thought. Like, winning is the best cure for a lot of things. How people feel about their experience when they're at your institution, right? Because we're talking about roster management, not just recruiting. Winning big games and having fun doing it. I mean, I know most of our guys, whoever committed here that had other options as far as P6, it's because of games like this and the competition level with South Dakota State. But I think it means everything. Your ability to go sit in someone's home or have them on a visit to say, hey, we are X versus this team, and knowing that you're in a head-to-head, it matters. Our winning tradition speaks for itself, but most people today, right, live in what's going on right now. And you have to be able to find a way in these big ball games versus all the Dakotas for us, because it's so competitive in recruiting. They mean so much from a recruiting standpoint.
What do you make of this game? Just both years in the regular season with you here, it's been flexed to a night game in national television, the spotlight of this game for the LCS.
Well, I mean, they called that a long time ago, right? We got that email and stuff months and months and months ago. So I think it's just an acknowledgement of where both programs are and the quality of play of football in the Missouri Valley Conference. And I've said it time and time again, but every time we get national opportunity, for exposure, to represent this institution in a first-class manner, to possess a genuine appreciation to play football, I think that's big time. I think we do that as well as anybody.
I know you talked about Cole having a very level head and kind of like, have you had any, or will you have any special conversations with him this week? Because Cam was pretty darn good last year in both games, obviously, and that was perhaps the difference in both games. So any special message to Cole this week?
Truthfully, I felt the need to talk to Cam and make sure he knew that last year that this was a team game. Right? And Cam, you could see this like burning. Just turn that film on and see how many times he's just pure grit, pure competitive spirit, pure want to, just wills us to stay out there. Whether it was in the run game or in the scrambles that he converted, it's countless. His quarterback conversions on scrambles, if it's not over 10, I'll buy you all a soda pop. It was more than that. I mean, he was tough. So I felt the need there. With Cole, I get the sense of a guy that's just really embracing his first opportunity to play quarterback. He's having fun doing it. He's really trusting himself. All the questions about jumping. I mean, how do you want me to rein this guy in? He's had 1 year to start football. Go play, Cole, kind of thing. But I hope he understands how tight some of these windows are going to be. I hope he understands that pocket's going to be a little bit more condensed than it's been all year. They're going to try to keep him in there. And can he function and make great decisions like he has so far this season when those moments just keep escalating? Because I think this will be a 4-quarter game.